Alright, this is the first boss in Highmaul, Kargath Bladefist. He's the first boss you're going to face for the first raid in Warlords of Draenor, coming out about 2.5 weeks after the expansion pack release. And I did record this in LFR, so obviously the mechanics might be a little bit different from what normal mode is going to be, but overall most of the abilities and the mechanics of the boss fight are going to be generally of the same. They're just going to hit a little bit less, do less damage, and obviously make it easier for the tourist mode. So we'll just get right into it here and start going over. The first thing we're going to talk about here is just a set of Kargath Bladefist abilities by himself, and not really any other mechanics in the boss fight. The first one is mainly to do with tanks. It's called Impale. Basically, he's going to start doing physical damage to the tank for 8 seconds, and every 1 second it does damage. If that tank survives, any other Impales after that are going to do more damage. Okay? So this is basically just a tank swap mechanic. I'm not sure if it's going to be, taunt at 1 stack or taunt at 2 stacks. That's something we're going to have to find out later. It's kind of hard to tell that in LFR. I didn't really get a chance to get into the normal mode. But that won't be that hard to figure out. You know the mechanic, so it's pretty simple. The next ability Kargath has is called Blade Dance. He's going to rush random targets every 2 seconds for 10 seconds, dealing 40,000 physical damage to anyone within 7 yards. Obviously, that number is not going to matter a whole lot because that could change quite a bit before the actual fight comes out. And of course, it's going to change on LFR and normal mode. However, that is the normal mode number. So basically, it's not really anything you can avoid. It's random people. It's going to last for 10 seconds. It's just on the healers to heal the raid and anyone else to pop any defensive cooldowns if at some point you think you need it. It's really not that much damage. You shouldn't really have too many problems with it. The next ability is a Fixate ability. Kargath is going to focus his attention on any one person in the raid at random, and that person is going to need to kite him around the room. Now, there is a way to interrupt this cast and stop this. If you look down on the floor when you get the chance, there's these big flame totems. You can actually see it right now to the right. If he's focusing you and you kite him through that, that will actually stop the Fixate, and the tanks can go back to tanking him. So that's the one way to stop it. Otherwise, you would be able to just kite around the room. Now, keep in mind, he also does do a massive cleave damage that pretty much one-shots anyone standing in front of it. So when you see him start casting this, you need to get away from the raid. Otherwise, he's going to absolutely wreck your face. The next one is an ability called Chain Hurl, and this is the last of Kargath's abilities. Basically, he's going to pick up the 5 closest people to him, and I assume because normal is flexible mode, I'm not sure if the number on that is going to change. It might be more if there's more people in the raid, but in LFR it seemed to be only about 5 people, and of course there were more than 25 people, or there was 25 people in there total. So he's going to pick up the 5 closest people to him, and he's going to throw them in the stands. This is where a lot of the boss mechanics come into play, because that's where a lot of the damage is coming from, are from NPCs in the stands, throwing a lot of things at the raid. So basically the goal is when you get the Chain Hurl out, you want a tank going up there, a healer, and then 3 DPS. It doesn't really matter the 3 DPS too much, as long as they're able to kill the ads. So when you see this Chain Hurl getting ready to come out, you need to make sure the tank, as well as the DPS and the healer, are the ones standing closest to the boss, because you don't want 5 DPS going up on the stands. They're all going to die because they don't have a tank or a healer. After the Whirling Chains, you're going to be put up in the stands, hopefully with a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS. The goal here, like I said before, is to kill as many ads as possible. You only have 45 seconds until you get automatically put back down into the arena, so you want to get as many ads down as you can. If you drop below 30% health, you will automatically get put back into arena, so the chances of dying up there are very slim. However, it is possible if something does hit you and you go from 30k to 0, there's a good chance you could still die up there, so you have to be careful about that. The first stab we're going to talk about is the Drunken Bile Slinger. He's going to occasionally cast down an ability called Mauling Brew onto the raid, as long as he's alive up in the stands. Basically, it's just a little green circle you need to move out of. You have plenty of time to move. If that does hit you and you are standing in that circle, you will take damage from it. After that has hit the ground, it's going to leave a slime pool there that basically does damage over time. It's a very simple avoid the poo mechanic. The next ability will only apply when you're actually up in the stands fighting him. It's called Vile Breath. It's basically just an AoE stun that will only stun the players that are in front of him. There is a cast time on it, so you will be able to avoid it. Just make sure when you see him casting it, you're not standing in front of him. The next ad is the Iron Bomber. His mechanic, while no one's up there, is basically just called Iron Bomb. It inflicts a bunch of damage to enemies and puts a dot on the raid to whoever he hits. It's just random. That lasts for 10 seconds, doing fire damage every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. So there's going to be a total of 5 ticks. It's just something the healers are going to have to deal with and heal up until they're killed in the stands. The next thing they do is a firebomb. When you actually kill them, or it's either when you kill them or during while you're actually attacking them. They have these bombs in the ground that do a lot of damage. You do want to make sure you're not standing next to those because they will drop you below 30% and you more than likely will get sent back down. The last and final ad that's going to be up in the stands is called the Iron Grunt. Not really a huge ad, it only has one ability, Grapple. It inflicts a little bit of damage and reduces movement speed by 25% for 4 seconds. So there's nothing you can do to avoid it really. It's going to slow you down up in the stands. That's kind of the goal of that ad. Like I said, there's not really a whole lot you can do about it besides just kill them. There is one minor difference between LFR and normal mode. On normal mode, there's basically these pits in the ground that you're able to fall into. And if you fall into those pits, you will get one-shot by a tiger ad that's sitting in those. Now, you can walk up in between, like you can walk up out of the pits in the ground. However, it's more than likely if you fall in, you're going to get one shot. You're not going to get the chance to. So you just need to make sure you're watching where you're walking and not walking into holes in the ground. It's very simple. It's not really a big deal. It just kind of leaves less of the room to walk in on normal mode. If you kind of look at my screen now, there's these grates on the right and left side of the screen. Basically, those are just holes in the ground. And like I said, you are able to walk up out of them, but more than likely, you're going to die. The last thing to mention is that with the whirling chain that he does, it really didn't seem like on LFR he was picking up the 5 closest players. I'm not sure if that's because it's on LFR. I imagine it is. It seemed like he just went ahead and picked up 3 DPS, a tank, and a healer. However, it would be nice if we saw that on normal mode as well. It's something they could end up changing. Maybe that's a mechanic for Mythic where it's the 5 closest players. It would kind of be nice if it just automatically picked up the tank and 3 DPS and the healer. Or the mechanic in LFR could also just be broken. That's pretty much the conclusion for the video. If you have any questions or if you think I missed anything, just throw a comment below and I'll be happy to add it in.